Hi there, brilliant people. So today I want to actually ask you a question. And the question that I have for you is gender really the question? I know that's a bit clickbaity, but just bear with me. See, the thing is, when people are talking about gender and other factors of identity, the problem with this, from my point of view, is that really goes back to the way we've structured our society, really pretty much since the Industrial Revolution, which, let's face it, was a while ago. So the thing is that in the Industrial Revolution, that was when we first developed, when I say we, I mean, obviously it wasn't me, but you get the idea. Humans first developed factories and mass production. And in that mass production, they needed people to really conform. They needed people to do the same thing at the same time, at the same rate, in the same way, because that is what the factory required. And so that was what would get the economy going. Now, being such a champion of individual brilliance, obviously I'm not really a fan of conformity. I think the only thing you should conform to is your own values, your own integrity, not necessarily to the standards of society, unless your integrity happens to fit with the standards of society. Anyway, the point is, at that time, there was a lot of benefit, of course, because we have all benefited. The fact that, well, at least in the Western world, the abundance that we have, this technology that I'm talking to you right now could not have been developed if we didn't develop those factories. So conformity has gotten us to where we are today. However, of course, we are now going through another technological revolution, and conformity is really not the answer anymore. Fortunately. In fact, if you think about it, with the rise of the creative classes and the fact that, on YouTube and other social media, it is more and more possible now to really essentially make money simply from being your own authentic self. The internet has enabled such a wonderful network of connections that it doesn't matter how niche your interests are, how niche your expression of who you really are, there is a way for you to actually live a productive life just doing that. And this new technology has enabled that. So the question, I guess, apart from is gender the question, is, do you want to live by rules? Do you want to live by conformity? Do you want to have a society that insists that everybody is the same? Or do you want to have a society in which everybody lives in their own integrity? Because if you do want to have a society in which everybody lives in their own integrity, well, if somebody's integrity doesn't necessarily fit the mold that you would see, whether that mold is a gender mold or some mold of crazy expression, whatever it is, if somebody wants to go and live off grid, if somebody just wants to live by bartering and not having anything to do with money. I mean, for some of us, okay, we can see that creates certain opportunities and it also creates certain limitations. And the truth is, that is how it is for all of us. So, one of the things that might help some people is to think about this. Our relationships are founded on our commonalities, but they grow from our differences. We generally connect with through what is familiar, with what we know, with what we have in common with other people. But then if the richest relationships that we have in our lives are ones that actually help us grow and flourish and become more brilliant versions of ourselves. So that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, if we're not comfortable with diversity, it really, really cuts down on the differences that we have in our relationships, whether they're, personal friendships, community relationships, but it cuts down on those relationships, and therefore, unfortunately, cuts down on our opportunities to learn. The more diverse a community we have, the more everybody in that community is going to be stronger, because everybody in that community is going to have more opportunities for growth. So that for me is really what the question is. It's not about, gender. I mean, I've always said it's not who you do it with, it's how good it is that counts. So it's not about gender. It's really, for me, the question is, do you want to live in a world where everyone has to conform, or do you want to live in a world in which everybody is living in their integrity? Because we are all different, if everyone's going to live in their integrity, there's going to be diversity. And unfortunately, because we're still being schooled to conform, we have, a lot of us still haven't learned how to deal productively and positively with diversity. But we can learn, particularly when we embrace those differences, because that is what gives us the opportunity to learn. So there you are. Think about those questions, because the more that we learn, the more we'll be able to remember that we're brilliant.